Keeping the love and support going for dementia residents in a facility can be difficult and demanding for relatives, especially if the cognitive decline is marked and, physical disabilities come into it. In most dementia facilities, there are women mainly with Alzheimer's and then vascular dementia, and to a lesser extent men with Alzheimer's dementia or vascular dementia. And then of course there's people with the younger onset dementia, often where there's a marked decline physically and cognitively, and it can be difficult and demanding to keep that love and support going for the younger husband or wife. And so this video will go into these aspects. So at the facility I worked at, there was one gentleman. He was a lovely guy, but he was very disabled with dementia. I'm not sure whether he may well have had a bilateral, another diagnosis as well as the dementia diagnosis, and that of course can give multiple symptoms, or it can be the medication that gives particular symptoms, and then of course the dementia itself with the memory loss. So it can often is a multiple diagnosis in which one has to work through in terms of cognitive decline and physical decline. But this guy was very disabled. He had really poor balance, but insisted on still walking. He was very courageous. His speech was poor. Occasionally he'd get out words, but they were sort of jumbled and mumbled, and it was difficult to be able to communicate with him, though he did often understand what you were saying, but it was difficult to communicate with him. And he had this really unfortunate writhing sort of movements, which may have been the medication, and he couldn't sit still, so it was difficult sitting by him or communicating with him because he was always, wriggling around. But anyway, he had the most charming, lovely, loving, kind, supportive wife. She was amazing. And she certainly kept that love and support going for years, because he was in the facility actually for 3 years, which is a long time considering he was so disabled. And that can often be the case. And it was, I'm sure, because of her support too. She came practically every day. Because of her support, it makes a really big difference actually. If there is a supportive relative, then staff will go that extra mile, just like the relative is going that extra mile, and that combined effort can often be the difference between the person being able to stay or not stay. I mean, ultimately it's up to the doctor's decision, and that comes from nurses' input. And if the nurse knows that the supportive relative is there and they're working together and they have good feelings for that, they'll want the person to stay, they'll want to make the effort to enable them to stay. Rather than if someone doesn't have supportive relatives, it's so much easier to just move them on somewhere else if it becomes inconvenient, sadly. So anyway, with this guy, his wife would come regularly to visit. But the remarkable thing about her is she was a very quiet person, but she was never fazed. She just managed somehow to keep that calm mental equanimity. She was totally present. Even when he fell over, which he often did, and really bad falls, onto the bricks in the fireplace or just head down, because he didn't have balance reactions to put out his hands, which often happens with people with advanced dementia, rather than sort of having their forearms their arms to protect themselves when they fall terribly. They just go, down as one sort of, straight down, and they can hit the head. The head takes the impact. Terrible, and this can sometimes happen 2 or 3 times a day, if you can believe it. Must be so many concussion type injuries happening with this poor person. But anyway, this man, he was so courageous. He would not, and many dementia residents are like this. It's remarkable. They just won't let the falls become their primary fear. They'll just have the courage to keep going, keep moving, keep walking, and not let the fear of falling hold them back. unbelievable, because they don't forget the falls. I mean, they've got bruises, they've got blood, they've got, pain, terrible, but they just carry on. It's unremarkable how many do that. It's just, and, he was a lovely man, but the thing is, he had this habit, when the workshops were going on, he had this habit of walking around in a circle of the women, and getting all caught up in their walkers and handbags and walking sticks and feet, and it was really irritating for the woman, please get out of here, walk around the corridor or something. But he just liked to walk around the table in amongst it all. And really it was distracting, because the workshop couldn't really go on while he was doing that. Oh dear. And, yeah, I mean, in the end, actually, the residents ended up being quite merciful with him, because he looked so dreadful, with all these falls and bruises and things. But his wife, imagine going through that and seeing that. But she was, through it all, honestly, she just didn't waver with her support and kindness. And she used to say, he was a great husband. That's what she used to say. He was a great husband. Yeah. So she looked at him as the great husband, as he was for her, as he is now. She wasn't seeing the disability, but she was seeing his strength. And that's how she was able to keep the love and support going for him. And it had a big impression on the unit, even though she was very quiet with it. For the other relatives who had disabled residents, the other families that had disabled residents, not maybe as disabled as him, thankfully, they were inspired by her, and her ability to keep that love and support, ongoingly. And she enjoyed it at the unit. It wasn't through sufferance she was doing this, or duty or obligation. She was doing this because she wanted to. She was doing this because she loved her husband. She saw his strength, knew his strength, had experienced a good relationship with her, and was also developing a very good relationship with other residents and families at the unit. If other residents fell, she'd always alert the nurse. She used to have coffee with one of the other relatives' wives, young wives, and they'd exchange notes, and their partners would be there, and they'd have a cup of coffee, take away coffee and a muffin, and share the news. And she was very much part of the community, and that actually, she initiated 2 or 3 other positive friendships with other women in the unit going through similar things with their husbands. And from that point on, because she also joined in the activities as well, she was very creative with her hands. And it was really from that point on that other relatives started linking in with the community, and the community became a lot stronger as a result. So this is the way that, this is just one example of many. I mean, every situation is completely and utterly different. And so this is just one example of the love and support, being carried through in a relationship with someone at a dementia unit. And the more that, difficult and demanding, but still the fruit, the love, the respect, the warmth that one gets from a dementia facility, it's also very empowering for the person as well. I mean, it's very much, give and take. And you definitely get back what you give, that's for sure. So, okay, that's it for the video. Just to let you know about the 2 books, The Resident's Voice from a Dementia Unit and The Resident's Rise from a Dementia Unit. And in the website, I've got the link below in the description, www.pietavalentine.com. There's radio interviews with Kate Delaney, the American radio interview, Geraldine Tuggerlove, the Australian interview, and Suzanne Harris, another recent radio interview, American as well. So they're all under the review section in the website, just with the link below. And you can see extracts from the book, and also under the reviews as well, I've put 25 videos from each book, the initial setup videos, if you like. So you can scroll through those and go through those ad-free in a nice, calm state of mind, so that you can just focus and concentrate on what videos you need for your relative. Thank you.